Hey there guys, it's Angus here. So these are the updates for July 2018 on my game, Sunset Witch X. So I figure we'll just get right onto it. Roll the footage. Last month I showed these segments where Sunset Witch can't fly and instead uses air vents to float above the ground. Well, since then I changed it and made it so Sunset Witch jumps during these segments. I figured it made the most sense, and it just worked the best with this type of level design. So far it works pretty well and I think it's here to stay, though most of the game will still consist of flying. One of the latest additions to this game are doors. Last month I made doors that require a skull key, but now there's two new types of doors. Right here we see one-way doors. They're always unlocked, but you can't leave them once you go through them. More interestingly, there's blue doors. Whenever you press a button it will unlock the next door it sees. There'll be moments where you're locked in rooms with tougher enemies, and by defeating them it unlocks the door. When you press the switch here you expect the door to unlock, but almost immediately a wasp hive appears. I feel like twists like these will keep things interesting. Now let's look at some of the new enemies. I feel like in a game like this, enemies are the most fun things to program. First off, there's giant enemy spiders. Despite their big size, they come at you fairly quick, and the giant ones lay eggs that turn into smaller spiders. The smaller spiders are quicker than the mother spiders, so you better watch out. You may have noticed that enemies now flash red when they get hit. I felt that this was a necessary change to make, as it makes it clear what's vulnerable and what's not. It's especially useful when damaging enemies like tanks. They have multiple hitboxes, so it helps to have more visual feedback. Sometimes you're flying along and bam! These creatures come out the ground and try to take a bite of you. On their way up they break the ground, so in some cases it could lead to new pathways being made. In the cathedral there are statues that wear masks. The masks themselves try to follow you and fire bullets behind them, but if you go behind the statues they stop sending masks and instead fire bullets on their back. These guards are made of two parts and constantly moving left and right. Whenever going left they're constantly firing a laser. You can either be patient and move when the laser goes away, or just destroy both parts of the robot. Even the walls have beef with you. These green walls are in your way, and when you try to wake them up they turn into enemies. Notice that when they fire bullets they can wake up the other enemies too, so potentially you could be in a situation where they all wake up one after another and start attacking you. One tiny detail I hope to pull off is enemy damage after being defeated. With smaller enemies I'm fine with them just disappearing, however with the bigger enemies I think it leaves a bigger impression. A few minor enemies include these flowers that spit bullets, and these grenade cannons. The grenades try to fall on top of you so you can use them to destroy the ground in areas like this. These are the grounded versions of that enemy. This version here is the tank version. They're mostly the same enemy except the tank version is moving, and if Sunset Witch is in front of it the grenades fire a lot faster at you. Some of the recent enemies are almost alien-like. There are these guys spitting hands trying to grab you, and if they're able to catch you then they'll eat you. These enemies may be really frustrating later in the game. It doesn't matter how much health you have, if they eat you then you're dead. Thankfully I recently put in checkpoints. Whenever you die you reset at the point you last entered a room. I'm still debating to myself whether or not to have a lives counter. Or if not, maybe even a death counter. Something to say to yourself how many times you died on a level. Those are elements that can be easily put in later. There are also high speed segments ready to use in later parts of the game. These parts will definitely put you to the test. On top of high speed you also got enemies on the ceiling, and breakable walls to make your way through. Outside of the game itself I've also been playing with Sunset Witch's design. I was thinking about what someone would wear when they're taking time off from saving the world. Here's a handful of some of those designs. There's a lot more key art in the works, but I hope to show them when they're finished. As you may know, my friend Will is making the music. We decided with the music it's going to be fairly adaptive, so the tone of the music would change depending on the situation. So if a boss came up, it'll become more tense, for instance. Take a look and have a listen. made some concept art of some locations. Right here we see a lake in the middle of a forest. And right here we have Sunset Witch's room. I wanted to give a modern witch aesthetic to it without overdoing it. You can see things like candles, stars, Polaroids, but also some video games on a TV. It's up in the air if anything becomes of this in the final game, but even if not, this was still fun to design. I feel my goal for next month will be to just continue making levels. I feel like now I have plenty of enemies and obstacles to work with, now I just need to make more stages based around them, as well as maybe adding bits of polish to what is there. For instance, tweaking how some of the enemies work, as well as adding some visual polish with things like particles. But those are the July updates for my game Sunset Witch X. Be sure to check back next month for the August updates. I'm hoping to release the game on Itch.io when it's finally finished, so be sure to follow me on Itch.io if you want to stay updated on the game's progress. I also post mini updates to my Twitter and Instagram, so don't forget to follow there too. But that's about all for this video. I'll see you next month, and until then, take care.